Hi everyone, this is my run on the Despair Gathering from Afar Chaos fight, and specifically this is the Xtreme TCC challenge. Now this time the Xtreme TCC challenge is a two-part run because there are two Chaos fights, one being the Exdeath one and the other being the Sephiroth one with Shinryu. I will post a link in the video description to the other fight, the one with Sephiroth and Shinryu, so do check that out as well. For those not familiar with what the Xtreme TCC challenge, I will also put a description of that in the video description. Now as always, before we go into the battle itself, I just want to provide a brief overview of the fight as well as the party setup that I used to complete the Xtreme TCC challenge. Now for this fight, it consists of one wave of Shinryu and Exdeath, and the difference on this fight compared to the Sephiroth fight is that this is relatively easier because Exdeath actually has less health than Sephiroth, so it's a relatively less tanky fight. However, the 80 turn requirements is still here, which can be quite challenging if you follow the restrictions of the Xtreme TCC challenge. The other notable difference here is that all of the HP attacks in this fight do not have a brave attack component to it, meaning that all the HP attacks in this fight can never break you, and therefore a tank is less important in this fight compared to the Sephiroth fight where he can potentially use Octaslash to break and kill a character. The HP attacks in this fight for Shinryu is the same in the sense that it has Air Drive at the start, which is a standard group magic HP attack. When it's low HP, roughly about 25% or lower, it will then start using Crystal Wave instead of Air Drive, which is a stronger group HP attack. The Air Drive tends to do about 6300 HP damage, while Crystal Wave tends to do about 11,000 HP damage to the party. As long as you have enough HP to tank the hits, then you should be fine. Now with regards to Exdeath, he has a group HP attack called Grand Cross. This acts in a very similar fashion to Sephiroth's Black Materia in the sense that it will absorb half of your party's brave and dish it back to you as HP damage. Therefore, same with Black Materia, where if you see Exdeath targeting all, you want to be careful not to have too much brave on your party member, or Grand Cross will deal a significant amount of damage. Exdeath also has a single target HP attack in the form of Eald'narche, as you can see here. However, this cannot break you because there's no brave component to it, so it's just a standard HP attack, and as long as Exdeath is always at 0 or broken state, 0 brave or broken state, Eald'narche will only deal about 5000 HP damage, which is very easily tankable with your party. To make things a little bit tricky, Exdeath also has a group magic brave attack called Black Hole. Therefore, sometimes it's a bit difficult to tell whether he will be using Black Hole or he'll be using Grand Cross when he is targeting all. What I tend to see is that his first group attack, his first all attack tends to be Grand Cross. His second one tends to be Black Hole, but after that it can be either Black Hole or Grand Cross. So to be safe, if you see him targeting all after the second time, it's better to make sure that your party's HP is topped up so that you can survive a potential Grand Cross attack. Now on top of that, because of the Xtreme TCC challenge, my party here has to be white, black and yellow crystal because I used Paladin Cecile, Zack and Ramza in the Sephiroth fight, and the Xtreme TCC challenge requires you to use the same crystal color for the Exdeath fight. So therefore, I used Arciela, Shantotto and Keiss here. Now, there are a few reasons for this. I'll start off with Arciela. So, of course, firstly, she has a burst healing built into her S1 as well as her EX. This allows me to recover after I take the group HP damage from either Shinryu or Exdeath. On top of that, her S1 also dispels, which will help remove buffs that Shinryu and Exdeath can grant on themselves. And beyond that, very importantly, her S2 inflicts HP disable. And as long as the enemies are debuffed by HP disable, you essentially cannot die because they cannot land HP attacks on you while debuffed with that. And this is important near the end of the fight where I used her S2 to lock down both Shinryu and Exdeath with HP disable while I finish them off when they are in the red health. And this allows me to avoid the crystal wave attack from Shinryu at the near tail end of the fight. Now, moving on to Shantotto. The reason I use Shantotto, there's actually a few reasons for this. Of course, she fulfills the Black Crystal criteria, but beyond that, her damage is actually very good. Arciela unfortunately lacks a bit in the damage department, especially once the boss's defenses are buffed. Shantotto will make up for this. Not only is her EX and her LD 100% splash, her EX and LD also tends to deal upwards of capped damage even after the boss's defenses are buffed, just due to the sheer power of Shantotto's attacks. On top of that, because you will be taking group HP damage here, it's very likely that Shantotto will fall below 50% HP at one point of the fight, and therefore it's very likely that she will end up in permanent rage mode, which makes it very easy for her to deal significant amounts of damage. And the nice thing about her LD, and this is actually quite important for the later parts of the fight when I start to lock down the bosses, is her LD has a 1 turn frame debuff that lowers the enemy's defenses by 100%. And if you use her LD before you summon, it will really improve the damage you do while inside summon. On top of this, her LD, although it's only a 1 turn debuff, also provides a 1 turn paralysis, which you can use together with Arciela's HP disable to really lock down the bosses at the end of the fight. Now to round off the party, because this fight also has a very strict 80 turn count similar to Sephiroth's fight, I decided to use Keiss as my yellow crystal character. Keiss helps a lot in the turn efficiency because of his launching mechanics. Launching allows you to have 3 characters dish out HP damage while only using 1 turn. So as long as you try to maximize Keiss's hero support ability by enabling 2 characters to do follow-up attacks after a launch, you get 3 turns of HP damage in the space of 1 turn, and this is a lot in terms of turn efficiency. Now all party members are fully boarded in terms of character and summon boards. Arciela has a few refined spheres here, as you can see, and Keiss only has his own sphere equipped. The summon that I use is Chocobo due to the requirements of the Xtreme TCC challenge. And before I head to the fight, just a note that there will also be a link to the Sephiroth fight in the video description, so do check it out as well. With that, let's head on to the fight. See you there. Okay, so for this fight, again, skill users is very important here. You do need to space out your skill users so that you can consistently deal damage throughout the entire fight, even at the later parts where the enemy's defenses are buffed. So while I'm using Keiss's hero support here, it's important not to use all his hero supports too quickly because you do need to save at least a few at the later parts of the fight when the enemy's defenses are buffed, especially also during summon to fully utilize on HP damage and chase mechanics. And if you are not sure that you can get 2 full follow-ups from his hero support ability, then do not use his hero support ability. So keep a close eye on the third order and only use his hero support when you are sure you can get 2 character follow-ups after that. I also start off the fight with Arciela using her Dissension ability because it's a free skill use and it will prevent Shinryu from using his air drive attack at the start of the fight. And this is quite useful because then at the start of the fight I have a few turns where I can just spam HP attack with Arciela to build her EX meter, and doing this actually will very nicely allow her to have a full EX meter right by the time Shinryu has just unleashed his air drive, so then you can use Arciela's EX to heal your party after that. With Shantotto, there is a few things that you need to do with her. So firstly, start off the fight with her Divine Malison EX skill to inflict Imperil on both bosses. And then after that, I use one ability use of her S1 and S2 to grant her Brave Up and Attack Up buffs as well. And after that, throughout the entire fight, the key here, because I don't have a tank, is to use Rage Bio and land Poison debuff on both bosses. Having Poison debuff as well as the Framed Sap from Shantotto will keep the boss's Brave in check, and very importantly will only allow Exdeath to deal very low damage with his Elmerghast ability, and in case Shinryu gets quick turns due to his high turn rate, the Sap and Poison will act as a cushion to protect your party from significant HP damage. In terms of damage order, the strategy that I used here is to focus first on Exdeath until he is at 50% HP. After that point, I switch over to Shinryu and focus Shinryu down while I allow splash damage and AoE damage to hurt Exdeath. Here I got a bit unlucky because both Exdeath and Shinryu are about to unleash group HP attacks. However, Shinryu will only deal about 6000 HP damage to the party, and as long as you keep your party's Brave low, Exdeath's Grand Cross will deal very low damage as well. So here my party has very low Brave, so I'm pretty confident I can survive both HP attacks. At the start of the fight, it's also more important to use more of Arciela's Ascension skill and save her Dissension for the later parts of the fight, where you need to lock the bosses with HP disable. The good thing is that of course her Ascension skill, which is her S1, also provides burst healing to the party. So this allows you to keep your party topped up in health and survive the attacks while you damage the bosses at the earlier parts of the fight. The good thing about Arciela is her EX as well as her S1 Ascension attack both provides party-wide battery, and this is very useful when you combo it with Keiss's hero support. So for example, if you are about to use Arciela's Ascension or EX and you know you can get 2 full character follow-ups after, that is a pretty good time to use Keiss hero support and target Arciela. That way, Arciela's battery from her Ascension and EX will allow you to deal additional damage during the launch sequence. So here again I got pretty unlucky that both bosses is again targeting my party, but when I look at the turn order, I noted that Arciela actually has a turn in between both bosses. So I'm not too concerned because the Shinryu can damage my party, but Arciela can heal them right after, and which will then allow me to survive Exdeath's HP attack if he does use Grand Cross. Okay, so here there's a message saying powers further heightened. This is the game telling you that Exdeath has hit the 50% HP threshold and he has gained a boost towards all his stats, including defenses. This is the point where I switch over and focus on Shinryu instead. Now this is a bit dangerous because Shinryu is about to use air drive, and unfortunately Exdeath decided to use his Almagas ability here. Air drive does about 6300 damage. Luckily, because Shinryu is also debuffed, it dealt slightly less and about 5000 HP damage, and Arciela barely survived. This is a very good example of why Leviathan's life up passive is very important, and I have it equipped on all my characters for all chaos fights. Of course, while I'm focusing down Shinryu, there are times when Exdeath will be launchable. During times like this, it's also important to try and capitalize on launch and damage Exdeath in between. Ascension to quickly do some healing, and also charge up Arciela's EX meter. Arciela's EX will always charge after one skill use because it's a very fast recharging rate. So if you really need healing, you can use Ascension to heal, followed by her EX on her next turn to heal again. Aurora Charge Plus is the game telling you that Shinryu has hit 50% HP threshold. So at this point, both bosses' defenses are buffed, and this is a good time to also use your party's additional abilities. Keiss's AA not only refunds one ability of his hero support, but it also provides attack up to the party. And of course, Shantotto's AA provides additional damage when it's weakness damage. And Arciela's ability also likewise provides additional support to the party in addition to replenishing her skill users. Okay, so here is a very good opportunity to start using Shantotto's LD. If you realize I haven't used any of her LD until now because I'm saving it all for the later parts of the fight. I used her first one here because the enemy's turns are quite far away, so I get quite a few turns to fully capitalize on the 100% defense down. Also, I'm also very near the point where I'm about to pop summon, and debuffing the enemies with 100% defense down before I summon also allows me to deal significantly more damage inside summon. Okay, so the enemies are about to get their turn, and I don't want them to get their turn because then the Shantotto's LD will wear off. And also, I wanted to use hero support with Keiss and make some launches here. He's about to use up his last few hero supports. So this is really a very good time to pop summon. Also, at this part of the fight, you want Shantotto to get as many turns as possible, so during each of her turn, if you're not using her EX or LD, try to be using one of her two skills because they have high turn rate. And this will sometimes allow Shantotto's turn to come a bit sooner, and on top of that, using her skills also of course helps to charge her EX ability. Her EX as well as her LD is very useful here because they will deal close to 99999 damage to both bosses. Now here I'm at a dilemma. Both bosses are still debuffed by Shantotto's LD. However, I saw that she's very close to her EX and she also has one LD left. And I decided to use her LD even though the bosses are already debuffed, because my thinking was that it's better to use Shantotto's next 2 turns using LD followed by EX to deal significantly a lot of damage. I take note that I'm very close to the 80 turns, so I desperately wanted to use the last few turns to deal as much as damage as possible. I also know that Exdeath will likely die from Shantotto's EX and LD, so therefore Keiss and Arciela can then focus on Shinryu on the last few turns. And that's it. Thanks a lot. As I mentioned, do check out the link to the second part of the Xtreme TCC challenge, the Sephiroth fight, in the video description. As always, if you enjoyed the video, do leave a like, leave a comment, or subscribe. Till then, I'll see you in the next Chaos fight. Bye bye.